What's going on, man? Welcome back to the basement. I'm Ron, and Sleepers run fantasy football. Every year we see players drafted in the later rounds become legitimate league winners. Last year we had Bucky Irving and Chase Brown, Chuba Hubbard, Jaden Daniels, Baker Mayfield, Jonnu Smith. The list goes on, but the important thing is right now in late August is to stay up to date. Last year, if you fully leaned into Jordan Mason as we got more and more negative Christian McCaffrey injury news, you picked up an early season RB1 that really helped your team make it into the fantasy football playoffs. So in late August today, I am going to submit to you guys my final sleepers list. We are going to talk through my 12 favorite sleepers getting drafted outside of the top 10 rounds by consensus that you need to be drafting right now. As always, if you enjoy, leave a like, subscribe if you're new. And the first player on our sleepers list is Ollie Gordon. And this one to me has not Jordan Mason written all over it, but a little bit of Jordan Mason written all over it. Devon Achane is dealing with a calf injury, kind of similar to what happened with Christian McCaffrey. We have Jalen Wright banged up right now as well. And Ollie Gordon you can get in the 16th round by consensus, the 1610 as the RB64. Right now, he's my 150th ranked player. You can, of course, find that over on the Patreon, patreon.com/Ron Stewart. I have a fresh set of rankings right off the press for you guys to go out there and use in your drafts right now. And there you can get my top 200 rankings with tiers, my target rounds for every single player, my targets, my fades, all of that good stuff, fully updated for all of the preseason and injury news we have rolling in right now. Now, Ollie Gordon is a fun player. He is also a rookie, so I do want to kind of give you guys some background here. He is coming to prominence right now because Jalen Wright is dealing with a lower leg injury. Of course, Devon Achane also dealing with a calf injury. Ollie Gordon this preseason, it is just preseason, but 26 rush attempts, 126 rushing yards, 4.8 yards per carry. He's looked pretty solid, and I like the idea that he is really the only power back on this team. Jalen Wright, more of this finesse, straight line runner. Yes, 210 pounds, but 4.3 speed, and at Tennessee with light boxes, he was just known as more of a north and south, not so much a power back, but just more of an elusive playmaker. Ollie Gordon, 6'1", 226 pounds, has all the size, all the power, 4.6 speed, so he's not the same blazer that Achane is, but he could absolutely be the between the tackles grinder on this team and even work his way into a goal line role on this team. On top of that, he is a day 3 pick in the real NFL draft, but Ollie Gordon is somebody that needs some context. He was a really, really fun prospect where he had over 1,700 rushing yards and over 20 rushing touchdowns as a true sophomore at Oklahoma State. He also had 39 catches for 330 yards. So he is this 226-pound back that was super prolific and caught a lot of passes. Now, you're probably saying, how did he get drafted on day 3? Well, his final year, he was absolutely brutal, and it reminds me a lot of Chuba Hubbard, who did the exact same thing at Oklahoma State, where he went from monster year 2, down year 3, fell in the NFL draft, and then found his way into becoming an NFL producer at the next level. So I love Ollie Gordon. To me, he's the perfect late-round dart throw. Once you get to like the 12th, 13th round, I think Ollie Gordon makes a lot of sense as someone that could play, honestly, right away if this Devon Achane injury is a real thing. And if not, he is a great handcuff with a little bit of standalone upside. Now, after that, we have another situation that does remind me quite a bit, again, of a Jordan Mason style thing here, where we are seeing a lot of late steam for Bill Krosky-Merritt. He has gone from someone that was unranked on these consensus sites. Now, these rankings, by the way, the 1103 RB41 for JCM, and then the 1012 is the RB40 for Austin Ekeler. This is from the consensus from ESPN, Sleeper, and Yahoo. And Krosky-Merritt keeps on rising and rising for good reason as well. It's one thing when you get a really loud drum beat as a 7th-round rookie, and it's another when things actually get changed around you because of it. We saw Brian Robinson get traded out of town because the rest of this backfield was so solid. Now, you can read the tea leaves and say, well, is it Krosky-Merritt? Is it Ekeler? Is it the third stringer, Chris Rodriguez? Truly, who knows? I still like Krosky-Merritt, but if you're somebody that isn't fully bought in, I think Ekeler is a great shout as well. Now, he 10-12. I said after the top 10 rounds, he's right on the fringes there. But you should want pieces of this backfield. Washington right now is projected to score the 5th most points by Vegas. That's a valuable backfield to have pieces of. And Austin Ekeler had 11 points per game last year to Brian Robinson's 11.4. So Ekeler, not bad at all as a kind of PPR scam RB2 style play with some more upside than that as well. And then also with the Bill Krosky merit side of things, it's sort of a Rorschach test here. Of you can see it for whatever it is. Jeff Mueller points out here, he was in a non-contact jersey as of yesterday, and then he sat out today's game. He's either a starter or he's out of precaution due to a lingering injury, or maybe both. So it's tough to say if he's banged up and Chris Rodriguez is ahead of him, or if he is resting with the starters because this team loves him that much. I err on the side that I still like JCM as like a 10th round pick, as a fine guy who's in that RB2 mix. Once you get outside of your players you can, check off for volume early, and you start getting to like Zach Charbonnet, and you get to Cam Scatabo, and that range of running backs, and Tank Bigsby, of guys you can't really guarantee get volume out the gate. I think JCM and Ekeler make a lot of sense in that range. Then we will get to Jayden Higgins. Now, you're going to notice a lot of rookies on this list. He's going to the 1105 as the wide receiver 53, and here is the reason. Rookies win leagues. That's kind of what it comes down to. When you look at over the last 2 years, the league winners that were on 15% or more of ESPN playoff teams, about a quarter of that list were rookies. And it's not just because it was a strong class last year. Of course, yes, Bucky Irving, Brock Bowers, Brian Thomas, Malik Neighbors, Jaden Daniels were all amazing. But the year before that, we still had Sam Laporta, Puka Nacua, Devon Achane, CJ Stroud. I don't know why I'm struggling to name them all, but you can even see like Sam Laporta and Puka Nacua were both on more championship teams than Bucky Irving and Brock Bowers. Rookies come out of nowhere. All of these guys, their average ADP was 140, so they get drafted late. They have a disproportionate upside than these other picks as well, and I think Jayden Higgins fits into this list. Now, I will say a good gauge that he should be going much higher is that over on Underdog, he's in this range between Jayden Reed and Michael Pittman as a legitimate, flex option at wide receiver, and it's why I think drafting over on Underdog is a great idea right now. I will have links down below to, again, patreon.com/Ron Stewart. I'll have a link to the Underdog promo code. When you use promo code Ron and you play $5, they will give you $50 in bonus funds to use on your account, and you can hop in draft teams. I believe they have a bunch of low stakes contests right now with like $3 entries and $5 entries. You can go in, get some practice for your drafts where you're taking Jayden Higgins at pick 90, and then you get to the 120th pick in your home league draft, and Jayden Higgins is staring you in the face, and it's a no-brainer to take him there. Now, why I like Jayden Higgins is because he was a top 40 pick. He's a fun prospect. He is a Nico Collins clone, to be honest. He's not the same style of player. Where Nico Collins is a true X, Jayden Higgins is more of this like flanker that you want to play off of the line, but because Nico Collins plays X and is going to be getting a lot of press man covered, it sets up Jayden Higgins to play off of that in a way that is conducive to his archetype. But 6'4", 214 pounds, 4.4 speed, jumps out the gym, top 40 draft pick. And then on top of that, I like this Houston offense. This is Mike Clay's projections here. They are projected for the 5th most passing yards in the NFL. After Nico Collins, it is absolutely wide open. Why not Jayden Higgins to step up and do something in this passing game? After that, we have Nick Chubb. I mean, he's kind of by default here, but the 1205 is the RB47. And if you find yourself in a spot where maybe you take Devon Achane early, or you do a hero RB build and you get really thin, Nick Chubb is somebody you can start as early as week 1, I think makes a lot of sense. This is from Tom Christ here, who was on the channel 2 years ago for injury updates. He's a great guy, great analyst on Twitter. Joe Mixon, no updates. A foot injury lingering for months is a major red flag. He is completely off my board. So he's not even drafting him. I'm not really drafting Joe Mixon either. And that now leaves us with a backfield of guys who are all going out to the top 10 rounds in drafts. One of these guys are going to emerge. Nick Chubb so far, when we look at the utilization report over with Dwayne McFarland here, he actually rested with the starters in week 3 of this preseason game. So Nick Chubb, as of right now, is the RB1 in week 1, and you can get him in the 12th round. I don't think in week 10 Nick Chubb will be startable, but he could kind of be like this year's J.K. Dobbins, where he gives you some really strong startable weeks early on in the year. And then on top of that, I also like the other Houston backfield mates as well, where Ryan Heath points out that the Texans were just 25th in man gap usage in 2024. That's a scheme in terms of the running game. When Dameon Pierce had a breakout rookie season in Pep Hamilton's man gap scheme, but disappeared when Slowick brought outside zone to Houston. And now that Nick Caley is the OC, he's going to be bringing in more man gap usage as well. So now we have Dameon Pierce back in the scheme that he had a breakout season in, so he could be a guy who emerges in this backfield. And then I'll also list Woody Marks, who's a rookie mystery box upside play. He's a fun player. He's a better receiver than Dameon Pierce and Nick Chubb. We'll see if he's a better between the tackles runner, but he's also an upside play. I think any of them are all beautiful snags here. Then our fifth sleeper on the board is Dylan Sampson. And it's very similar here where I'm not drafting Joe Mixon. I'm not drafting Quinshon Judkins. It is August 24th, and there is no update on Quinshon Judkins. He has not signed with the team. He has not been getting practice reps. He has not been in the team meetings. I think at this point, you have to just say the other Cleveland backs are ahead of him. Dylan Sampson being one of them with rookie upside, legitimate upside here. He just got the preseason start in week 3 as well. This is again from Dwayne McFarland over at Fantasy Life. Dylan Sampson started the game, played the first 2 drives. Over those 2 drives, he split the snaps with Jerome Ford, but I think it's at least notable that heading into week 1, it looks like an even split. Of course, when we talk about these rookies, it's more about the back-weighted production, right? A guy like Bucky Irving didn't emerge until week 9 plus. Dylan Sampson here, I don't think is going to be startable in week 1, but I think over the course of a season, if Dylan Sampson can beat out Jerome Ford, especially after they now announce Joe Flacco as the QB1 here, who should at least be a competent quarterback, right? You're not dealing with Shedeur Sanders or Kenny Pickett or anything that's a doomsday scenario. It is very straightforward that Joe Flacco should at least be able to have a fine offense here. Stefanski's a good play caller. It should be up-tempo. So I think there's at least enough for Dylan Sampson to be a real difference maker here. And he's a fun player, too. He was somebody that fell in the NFL draft. We follow Dynasty content super closely over on the other channel, RS Dynasty. And Dylan Sampson, until the NFL draft, was pretty much a lock to go on day 2. Like, he was very much in the mix to get drafted in round 3. The film guys absolutely love him as someone that is stylistically compared to Bucky Irving, where he's this very cerebral, decisive runner. He converted first downs and short yardage situations at a really high rate. He's a very good, solid running back. Good speed, explosive, can catch passes. So he's a very fun player that a lot of guys I respect loved a lot coming out of school, and the opportunity should present itself for him to be somebody who could be a difference maker. And again, you're getting that 1401 pretty much free off the board. Now, I'm not even going to show his name. Don't even count this as a legitimate sleeper. This is a bonus. I don't know if any of you guys are in deep enough leagues for this, but I do just want to shout out, if I'm doing my final, these are my guys for this season, I got to shout out Harold Fannin. Harold Fannin is one of the most fun tight end prospects I've ever seen. 117 catches for 1,500 yards and 10 touchdowns in his final season at Old Dominion. It was Bowling Green, but he went out there and was a monster against Penn State, despite being on Bowling Green. And just to put his stats in perspective, somebody like Brock Bowers, who I regard as the best tight end prospect of all time, never cleared 1,000 receiving yards in college. Now, of course, he was at Georgia, different competition, but I can't stress enough how insane 117 catches for 1,500 yards is as a tight end. Even if you want to say, oh, well, he was in the MAC. Well, here's the thing. Do you think the defensive coordinators, they knew their only good player is Harold Fannin? They were trying to probably double team him, do anything. He's the only guy on their team that's good and has NFL aspirations, and they still couldn't. This is a chart from Scott Barrett here showing yards per out run and first downs per out run. Harold Fannin up and to the right as one of the most nuts seasons of all time. And he caught a touchdown with the starters in week 3 in preseason from Joe Flacco. And we have Dwayne McFarland here outlining that Njoku ran 60% of the routes. So Njoku, honestly, if you just want to get on a side tangent here, should get a little bit of a downgrade here. We want to have 70, 75% plus of the routes for a really strong starting tight end. Harold Fannin already being at 60% of the routes, 33% targets per out run, that's really strong. If there's a way that he can climb, if he can just become he's this weird tweener between tight end and slot receiver. If he can become a full-time slot receiver, all of a sudden you have this cheat code in your tight end spot. There's also upside that David Njoku, I believe in the last year of his deal, could just get traded here at the trade deadline. Then all of a sudden Harold Fannin is a league winner down the stretch. So I do want to pump the brakes only in deep leagues where you have a deep bench, or in a tight end premium league where you get 1.5 PPR to the tight ends, would I consider Harold Fannin, but I really like him. So I wanted to mention him. But after that, we will talk about players that I really like, and you've heard me talk about a ton. First up, we'll talk about Bhayshul Tuten. If you've been subscribed for a while, you know I absolutely love this guy, which then brings me to say, If you are not subscribed, but you have seen me ramble about Bhayshul Tuten all offseason, make sure you subscribe. Check the subscribe button right now. A lot of you guys get recommended my videos, and then you think you're subscribed, and then you're not. Just hit the subscribe button, and if you are already subscribed, hit the like button as well. But with Bhayshul Tuten, you guys know, 206 pounds, 4.3 speed, really fun prospect out of Virginia Tech. Somebody that the Jaguars GM, James Gladstone, pitched to the Jaguars owner when he was getting hired of saying, I want this running back on this team. There's a new regime here, a new head coach. Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby were the previous regime's players, and we already have a report from John Shipley, to me like the lead Jaguars beat reporter, saying, I believe the Jaguars will look to unload one of their veteran backs. Now, Josh Norris speculates it might be Etienne. I would say it's Etienne or Tank Bigsby here. And if either of that happens, all of a sudden Bhayshul Tuten has a very clear runway of how he can become a league winner down the stretch in this offense. He's not someone you start right away, but at the 12:07 as the RB48, you stash him on your bench, and you hope by week 5, 6, 7, he becomes somebody you can put into your starting lineup. And his teammate, we have Trevor Lawrence going off the board at the 14:05 as the QB22. He's essentially free, and for me, when I miss out on the elite quarterbacks up top, I want to grab a Purdy or a Caleb Williams, a Drake May, and then pair them with Trevor Lawrence super late here. I have no clue why he goes so late by consensus. Last year, we saw Liam Cohen with Tampa Bay get Baker Mayfield to 20-plus points per game. He had career highs in efficiency and rushing yards per game. I think he can do something similar for Trevor Lawrence, who has already shown that he was the QB12 and QB13 in points per game in 2022 and 2023. So it's not like we haven't seen him be a good fantasy quarterback in the past. I think that he kind of revives that this season with Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter and the new staff in general. And then we have another one of my guys that I'll save you the entire spiel on Luther Burden. You guys see me draft him every night. We stream every night. I draft him pretty much every night. He goes at the 13:06 as the wide receiver 60. And I just want to bet on Luther Burden. It is talent over everything when we get to the 13th round. Just a few weeks ago, you would have said that Emeka Egbuka was in a crowded wide receiver room. And now Jalen McMillan is hurt. And Chris Godwin doesn't look as good as he previously did for the early half of the season. And all of a sudden, Emeka Egbuka's out there in 2 wide receiver sets. The NFL, things change all the time. I just want to bet on talented players. When we look at NFL next-gen stats, wide receiver prospect model over the last 2 classes, the red line is where Travis Hunter is. It's just weird because he's listed as a cornerback and wide receiver. Luther Burden is tied with Tedero and McMillan in this model, next to Xavier Worthy, ahead of Emeka Egbuka, ahead of Matthew Golden, ahead of Ladd McConkey. He is a really, really strong prospect. He's athletic. He has this really fun tackle-breaking ability, and he could be somebody used in this Ben Johnson offense, very similar to a Jameson Williams, where he gets schemed-up touches and he breaks off big plays, and he's very exciting to me. And when we draft these rookie wide receivers late, we're hoping down the stretch they give you something. Where if we look since 2010, there have been 21 rookie wide receivers from week 9 on to give you 16-plus points per game. We've seen it from Rashee Rice and Puka Nacua and Jaden Reed and Ladd McConkey and Jalen Waddle, Brandon Ayuk, Juju Smith-Schuster. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a famous one. Why not Luther Burden this season? Then we will talk about some depth pieces at running back with Will Shipley. 14-12, he is essentially free, and I don't know why there's a big gap between him and the other handcuffs like Tyler Algier. I think that he represents the same exact thing here, where he has rested with the starters. He has been completely ahead of A.J. Dillon in preseason as the clear RB2 behind Saquon Barkley. This is a high-powered offense with a good offensive line. Saquon Barkley coming off an insane amount of touches. It wouldn't be crazy for him to get dinged up at some point. And I will say, if you want to galaxy brain yourself, you can say maybe the Eagles are such a good team that maybe they clinch the division, they clinch the 1 seed heading into week 17, and Will Shipley's the RB1 in week 17. I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but there is an upside scenario case there at a 1% likely scenario. Then we have Cade Otton, who I think is not moving up enough with the Jalen McMillan and Chris Godwin injury stuff, where last year, once Chris Godwin went down, the stretch of games that Cade Otton was healthy for, he was the tight end 10 in points per game. And you can get him, as the tight end 26 in the 18th round. So if you miss out on elite tight end and you have to grab 2, I think that he's fine to grab later on. I will say I do have Cade Otton ranked ahead of Harold Fannin. So if Otton's there versus Fannin, yes, grab Cade Otton. And then our final sleeper on our final sleeper list here is Keaton Mitchell going off the board at the 1901. So he's essentially free here as the RB73. But give me an explosive pass catcher in a good offense. Derrick Henry's getting older, and people forget Keaton Mitchell was pacing with Devon Achane's rookie season, which Devon Achane's rookie season is like maybe the most efficient season ever in terms of yards per carry. Keaton Mitchell, on only 47 attempts for sure, had a 90-plus PFF grade, 8.4 yards per carry, 5+ yards after contact per attempt, as an absolute monster. And in that rookie year, Devon Achane led the NFL with a 12.6% explosive run rate. But if you were to take down the qualifiers to 40+ rush attempts per game, it was actually Keaton Mitchell with 14.9% explosive run rate. And over this preseason so far, Keaton Mitchell is at 7.6 yards per carry. He's a really fun profile that he could have one of these pass catching and efficiency profiles where he's a standalone back you can start in the RB20s as like a fine RB2 and hero RB style builds. And then again, if Derrick Henry was to go down, Keaton Mitchell, I think, would be an absolute monster, even with Justice Hill there. I think that he's just a better player, especially out in space and just creating explosives for a good offense. So that is our final sleepers list for this offseason. Pretty much this entire week is going to be us submitting our final answers to the test here. We're going to talk about my favorite players in every round. We'll do wide receiver rankings, running back rankings. We'll do a final strategy video. Everything we are submitting here. We got 1 week to go until it's time to flip to week 1 and start setting our lineups and hitting the waiver wire and making trades as soon as next Sunday. So be on the lookout for that. Again, I know a lot of drafts are happening between now and then, so make sure you check out patreon.com/Ron Stewart. You can find my rankings. You can find everything you need to crush your draft and then crush in season as well, where you get my weekly rankings, rest of season rankings, my weekly waiver wire article on top of that. All of that is on the Patreon, patreon.com/Ron Stewart. All of my links are down below in the description and the comment section. As always, if you enjoy, leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and I will see y'all in the next one.
Stones, like this froze, ice cold.